morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with episode 6 of House of the Dragon season 2 on deck. Nelson, how you doing?
Only 2 more.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, we're running out of time. Last 2 episodes, I think, have been a little lackluster. I want to kind of get your take before I say anything on it. Also want to give Jeff a big shout out on this one. Working with some, we used to call EWO back in the day, just things you can't control. He's on vacation, dealing with out of town, phoning in on
just a little bit of
beach house internet off the laptop. So just getting the job done. So
got to do what you got to do. Yeah, appreciate it.
What'd you think of the chapter?
Yeah, lackluster. I mean, I guess, again, I understand they have to do this stuff, but this is an episode, like, if you're streaming or, like, you know, binge watching, you're going on to the next one without, like, even a question, right? It's like, oh, God. All right, what's next?
I think it was actually kind of long, but yeah, not too much happened. I kind of liked it because there's a lot of stuff in this chapter that, like, I felt they were starting to veer off from the book. And a lot of stuff, it seemed like they snapped back onto the book, like just for, like, we got mentions of, like, armies doing stuff, like Lannisters. We even saw them for a little bit doing stuff. That's the thing in the book that we really haven't, we've heard mention of, but we haven't seen. We heard of, like, oh, there's actually, like, battles going on in the Reach, right? Like, oh, the like, they're getting into it. So, like, I was kind of, like, happy that we're hearing about this stuff that I thought we should have heard about already. So I was, like, happy with a lot of that stuff. It seemed like we were getting more aligned with the books. There's some stuff towards the end that I thought was really weird. I thought it was really weird how they ended it, just flat out. Like, is this a surprise to anyone who is riding Seasmoke? Like, you, as someone who hasn't read the books, do you know who's riding Seasmoke?
Yeah, I mean, I knew weeks ago.
Yeah, I guess you kind of got spoiled because of Twitter or whatever. But I mean, there's a scene where Seasmoke lands in front of Adam of Hull. It's like, oh, I wonder who's riding Seasmoke.
Yeah.
And I think in the trailer for next week, it even shows, like,
I'm sure
him on Seasmoke.
I mean, it goes back to, like, episode 2 or 3 when it's Adam on the beach and Seasmoke's flying over the top of him, right? It's just like, like, they laid that groundwork. And I think what they're trying to leave up to interpretation is whether or not they will be on Rhaenyra's side, which I'm assuming they are. So, but I guess we'll save that for the end. I don't. Again, it's a lackluster episode that had to end. They chose a way to end it with. I think that's the only suspense. It's like, oh, what's this guy with new power? Like, he's never had anything. I also just don't get why he can be the rider. I think we'll save that for the end.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. At the very beginning, getting back to the start, there are bits at the end of the intro that are new.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch that. I didn't get a chance. I was dealing with the hookup.
Yeah, so it's weird. Like, at the beginning of the season, at the end of the intro, there was the scene from the end of last season where Vhagar's killing Luke. That was in it. Then, after Blood and Cheese happened, that got replaced with, like, a little picture of Blood and Cheese stuff.
I don't even know if I remember Vhagar and Luke's scene. I have to go back.
It was in it just at the very end, yeah. But only for, like, maybe the first episode or 2. Gotcha. Maybe just the first one. But then, in this episode, it was the Arax thing, the Blood and Cheese thing, and some type of new Rook's Rest thing. I think it looked like Sunfire and Meleys both going down, and, like, a person holding a sword like this. And I'm like, who is that? I don't know. Maybe Kristen Cole.
I'll have to I'll give a look, and I'll put my thoughts in on Discord for the fans.
Yep. But first scene, Lannisters.
Yeah, I mean, just Lannisters being Lannisters, showing up to the Golden Tooth, which is, like, right on the edge of their own land, right? It's not
exactly. It's kind of like the gate to the Westerlands.
Yeah. Yep. They don't want to move until Aemon is riding with them on Vhagar, which I don't know why. Like, just because they're scared. Are they scared?
I mean, it makes sense. Like, if you're an army and there's a battle where dragons are involved, if you go to Harrenhal and there's a dragon there, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, nothing.
So it's like,
you can't do anything.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we're ready to fight as long as you're there to back us up. Kind of like Vhagar was ready to back him up at Rook's Rest.
Right. Or even like Jace talking to the Freys, and, like, the Vale is, like, worried about the dragons. All that is...
Yeah, exactly. Everyone wants dragons.
Which there's only there's 2 now on one side. That's assuming that Helena's is going to be. Is it Helena or Helena? I always screw that up.
Well, and Daemon.
Alicent's
son has a dragon.
All right, so 3 versus.
And good point. If Helena's doing something.
Yeah, which she hasn't shown yet, but I would assume she would be. Like if it comes down to it, it's like, you gotta get on that thing. So yeah, I get it. All right. But Lannisters just being Lannisters cuts right into Aemon just being mad at the Lannisters for kind of calling him out for being soft. But again, like, what are you gonna do? Like, what can you do?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like Daemon could just take down that whole group by himself if he blew Craxies into him.
Yeah, exactly. If they don't have a dragon. So he's pissed about that. Then they start talking about, Aemon tells Tyland, hey, we want to get in contact with the people that we were fighting with in the Stepstones before. We want them on our side. And we're like, wait a minute, what about the Greyjoys? And it's like, oh, they haven't got back to us. Like, oh, what if we marry Alicent to them?
No way.
She's like, no, that's not happening.
That ain't happening.
Which, it's like, what if it worked? Like,
Cersei vibes. She's not leaving.
Cersei vibes for sure. But like, if it worked, like, because she kind of is on her high horse, like, oh, I want the best for everything. But like, what? That's just off the table. Like, could be a very important.
I'll do anything but
chip.
Get married.
I mean, Tywin would see it as a very important chip. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know if it's a better match. Like, it doesn't sound like the Red Kraken they called this guy. I don't know who's in charge of the Greyjoys. Like, doesn't sound like maybe he doesn't have the best, reputation. But
yeah. Well, Greyjoys, do they ever? But
right. So, and it's like an island that no one wants to be on. So
they just need ships right now because
they're
going against the Velaryons who have a lot of ships. Yeah. So next command,
Criston
Cole is going to Harrenhal.
Are we not talking about the Triarchy? Like, that's just a thing. Like, are they just pirates, or is it like the same kind of crab eater people that Daemon fought in season 1?
Well, again, like season 1, I feel like they kind of overdid in the show. They definitely overdid Crab Eater as this like weird, like half monster villain. Yeah. In the books, he's just like a really ruthless general as part of the Triarchy. I think the Triarchy had this like.
So this Triarchy is an actual group of things. Like they're not just like random pirates that.
It's Tyros, Lys, and Myr, which normally are always warring with each other, but like sometimes they all get on the same side, and that's kind of what's happening now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's the Triarchy. Yep, that's who they're going to try and get to help out and basically just be like, because like, hey, you hate the Velaryons. You fought them before. Like, we hate the Velaryons. Like, let's help out.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to a point, but then like you're getting in bed with, I don't know why they're so against, like, because we see it in Game of Thrones times that they're like buying sellswords and whatnot from the free cities, but they don't want to. Exactly. They don't want to work with them right now.
Yeah, and even in the books, they say like when Criston Cole like leaves King's Landing to like go take Swift's rest, like I think like 2/3 of his army sell swords. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, next command, Criston Cole, you're going to Harrenhal, and that's Aemon, right? Like he's speaking up, kind of defending Alicent a little bit on not getting married, and he's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here, you're going to Harrenhal.
Yeah, and just talking over Aemon's such a little cocksucker, just talking over everybody, and like
he's king now. He's like, I'm in charge now. Yeah,
I'm the captain now. He does a good job at like at least owning his council, right? Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like
we've never really seen a king do that except for Robert, but Robert never really did it on anything that mattered. He only did it on like kill Daenerys. I'm serious about this one. Like nothing else he really had a firm stance on. But yeah, it's the first time we've really seen a king do that. I guess Tywin a little bit, but he wasn't really king. But yeah, so he's like, you're gonna go. He's like, we should wait for the Hightowers as backup. And Aemon's like, no, you go, trust me. And then I'll show up when Daemon shows up. If Daemon's man enough to stand and face me,
I want that challenge. And hopefully the Lannisters show up from the west. We'll get them from every angle. I mean, good plan.
Yeah, exactly. You're coming from the south, Lannisters from the west. Yeah, and we'll have the dragon. Yep.
Yeah, good plan. I guess I don't. The last episode was like, is Vhagar ready to fly? I guess he will be ready to fly at that point. Obviously, he's going to fly again. I don't know how long it takes. They're bringing in like a dozen goats for him to
a lot of
swallow.
Sheep. Yeah, so. a lot of sheep for him. So yeah, then everyone leaves and it's just him and Alicent, and she gets fired.
Yeah, you're out. You're out, Mom.
Celebrity Apprentice style. You're fired.
I never really watched that show. But
I do think this is cool. He's basically just like, what's your role on the council again? Like, tell me what your title is. And she's like, well, I served for Viserys for a while. He's like, I know, but like, what's your role? Like, are you master of?
He's dead.
Like, yeah, so thank you for your service.
And then it was kind of like a slight too, like, oh yeah, you served Aegon too. Like, you see how that ended up, knowing that it was his fault. How really how he ended up. But
I thought that was more of like Aegon needed a babysitter. I don't. So what are you doing here still?
Yeah, probably true. And I think she knows that too, but she's also like she's speaking truth too. Like you're being, you're gonna make some young mistakes being here. Like you think you know everything, and you don't.
You're rash. Yeah. It's like we need a voice of reason here. Also, weird how she like touches his face at the end, and he like almost like embraces it. I didn't know if that was like a power play or almost like he was like this is actually kind of like, because he kind of seems like he has mommy issues, right? With the whole like him in the whorehouse getting held by the lady thing. So
I think even like just the visual of him like looking straight on and not at her, but you can only see like eye patch eye is like imagery. Like that's what changed him kind of, right? Like he got the dragon, he gave up his eye. Now I'm this,
that's what she calls him out for,
badass dude. And so
haven't you got revenge?
I think it's like a two-face type of thing. Like, which side of the face are you looking at?
Yep.
But so moving on, we're at Corlys at the painted table, which they're bringing in the council of Rhaenyra. He accepted the hand position, and then this gets us right into Sir Stefan being the first guy to try to ride a dragon.
Yep.
Not who I thought, but it makes sense. And the way last episode ended, that they found this type of guy, right?
So in the books, I will say I didn't like how the last episode ended, because it seemed like they, in the books, and maybe it's kind of a spoiler, they kind of just like open it up to anyone who wants to claim that they have Targaryen blood.
Yeah, like line up if you ever had a cousin.
Yeah, exactly. But in this one, like they were like going for highborns. I will say in the books that when they do open it up, Stefan Darkland's one of the people who's like, hey, I know that I have some way back when, and Rhaenyra says here to your grandma's grandma. I don't know if we even get that in the books, but so I like how they kind of tied that. How it kind of does make sense they would want highborn people, just because in that time they don't think of anything of lowborn people,
right? So
they would kind of seek that out. So I like how they did that. I will say one of the issues I have with this episode, I'll just bring it up now because it doesn't really matter at all to the episode. One of your complaints from previous episodes, Corlys does nothing.
Yeah.
What are we doing? He takes hand and he just sits there, and then he doesn't do anything for the rest of the episode.
He didn't even say a word. Like. All he does,
like Mysaria is the real hand. Let's be real.
Absolutely.
And I like Mysaria. She's a cool ass character, but like, what's Corlys doing? Give the guy a job. Make
Corlys
him do something.
hasn't done a thing other than introduce his two sons, which I'm gonna say end up doing way more than Corlys. Like I'm assuming now that they're like talking about bringing their navy over, that we're gonna get a sea fight here at some point. But yeah, he's worthless. He's done nothing, and Daemon is getting close to that too. Daemon, time to do something. Get on Craxies, get the river on, and let's see what you're made of.
So yeah, Daemon's not doing anything, but I liked the Harrenhal stuff this episode more than I have in previous episodes for sure. I think a lot of it because it was in the daytime. Harrenhal looked kind of sweet this episode.
You could see some stuff.
You could see it, and it looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the next scene anyways. Is Daemon, and it's actually him in a vision. Cool vision.
I think it's just cool that these guys, these old characters, get to come back, right? Like we've seen now.
Yeah, for sure.
Patty. We've seen whoever,
Millie.
Lena's actress, Millie, came back. Yeah, I think it's just like, all right, come back for like 2 hours of filming, and you'll be good after that.
I feel like this one was a little bit of a missed opportunity, though, because this is when Daemon had claimed to have said heir for a day.
Right.
But the way it was shot, we didn't actually see if he had said it or not. I know a lot of fans were upset that we didn't actually see it. It was kind of left open and we never got an answer. Because even when Viserys is questioning him, he's like, did you say it? Daemon never really admits one way or the other. He just kind of says, like, you were never a nice brother. You know what I mean? But he never really answers the question. I thought it would have been cool if he answered the question. Like, he's like, did you say it? If Daemon would have been like, no, I didn't say it. Like, I promise. Or like, yeah, I said it, but I regret it now. Just like, give us a definite answer. I feel like they could have kind of retroactively fixed a thing that I feel like a lot of fans had an issue with from season one.
Sure.
I'm sure they know that fans had an issue with.
Yeah. I mean, he did kind of say, are you still mad at me for that? Like, kind of accepting it.
Well, the other thing is, to me, when Daemon said that to Viserys, what I got was, this is Daemon's head. Like, Daemon's the one dreaming this, right? So it's like, when he's like, are you still upset about this? To me, that's Daemon basically asking himself, like, really, this is what we're still dreaming about? Is this nonsense?
Are you still linger on some shit that you did to your brother back then? Which I think is what Alys kind of gets to him, too.
I don't think it's what he did to her. I think it's this whole scene is Viserys like, you're not my heir anymore. I'm naming a new heir.
Sure.
And that's when Daemon's like, are you still on this? So I think Daemon's realizing that he's still upset with the fact, like, his whole deal is he's upset that he didn't get named heir. And towards the end of the episode, he has another vision where I feel like, kind of accepts it. And he, like, you know what I mean? Like, comforts Viserys after the death of Emma. Instead of going and drinking with the brothers, he comforts, like, that's the second vision. Is like what he should have done instead.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, we're kind of jumping around a lot there. I like the Daemon, the visions with Patty.
I thought those two had a very, like, even in season 1, those two together had a cool relationship to see on, because you could tell Viserys loved Daemon, but it was also like, dude, you're like making me go nuts, and Daemon's all for Daemon. But like now, maybe he finally can see that, you know, I could have been a better brother to him.
Exactly. Well, because I feel like a lot of this season we've been like, what are the point of these visions that Daemon's been seeing? And I feel like in this episode, I feel like they're kind of making it work where it's like Daemon is actually being affected by these visions, and he's like, exactly like you said, he's like, wow, I did fuck up. I could have been better. I need to get over my issues or whatever. So I think they're kind of like trying to make the visions or dreams actually affect him in real life or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's losing it. He's trying to bang on the door to get out of the throne room. He opens, it's Simon Strong. He's like,
I do love the transitions of like him coming out of a vision into like real life. Like, it's not just waking up in his bed all the time. It's like he's probably sleepwalking around the castle, like talking to himself and shit, and then boom, into Simon's like dinner table. I guess I don't even know what you would call this room. I guess it's where they meet and whatnot. But
well, that's another couple weird things about Harrenhal. So there's a bunch of weird things that I think one I told you before, but I don't know if I said it in the podcast. But like when Alys gives him the drink, he's drinking out of the cup, and I said maybe the drink's like a weirwood paste. But when he puts it down in the Harrenhal, he's like, it cuts to him like in a Harrenhal meeting. He puts the cup down. It's the same cup, and then the camera cuts to a different angle of the same meeting, and it's a different cup. So it's weird. Like
things are moving. Like, you got to pay attention to the details.
And like, he's not in his bedchamber when he's banging on the door. His bedchamber is not adjacent to this big meeting room. Like, we've seen him have to walk down a hall to get there before. So like, what's he doing? He's literally crawling through the hallways, banging on doors.
Yeah.
The other thing I didn't realize this, but I saw a fan say this. Every time he comes out of these visions, it's Simon. Yeah. And Simon saying like, "Oh, a raven," right? And that's what Millie's chopped off head was saying, or here he's the one in the door. But I guess every time it's that.
I think that's what leads to him kind of going nuts to Simon here then too. Like, are you fucking with me? Like, why does this keep happening? And you're the one at the end of it. Like, I'm about to kill the shit out of you. And he just kind of goes nuts. Like, are you working for the Hightowers? Are you working for even Rhaenyra? So he was kind of off his rocker even a little bit more after this one.
My note was Daemon's losing it. And then the next scene is he's leaving. He's like, fuck this, I'm out. He's like, fuck this fucking castle.
And then we get another Alys scene, which she's just kind of dropping knowledge, and she's been counseling him this whole time. Like, she's cool. And I think we can now put to rest that she's a real person. Like, at least in this show, she's a real person. Simon
mentions her later.
Yep.
What is weird, though, is she says 3 days time here, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't later when Daemon's talking to Simon's he's like, how did he die? And like, all the Maesters were working on him. Even Alys Rivers did everything she could. You are not a Game of Thrones map expert like I am, but you know Harrenhal is not 3 days away from River Run. So what the fuck? Like,
maybe she's sending visions. Maybe that was another vision of her just being in the Weirwood Garden or whatever they call it.
So here's a problem, right? And I don't want to get on the high horse about it, but because I didn't even mention it last episode, so I can't get on the high horse too much about it. But Meleys, when they bring in Meleys' head into King's Landing and Aegon in a box, a lot of people were pissed off about this because I'm pretty sure like the assumption in the books is that he was fixed at Rook's Rest by the Maester right there. He's in critical care.
Yeah.
Right. It's a 3-week ride.
They just had him in a box.
Meleys' head is still smoking, and Aegon's just been in a box for 3 weeks, and then the Maester's like, these hours are urgent out to Alicent. Like,
they time traveled. And
so they time traveled. So maybe it's okay that Alys time traveled. And again, the show seems to be time travel's a thing. Like, we can just teleport. Yeah. I guess not time travel. Teleport. We can teleport around. And okay, but then you have a character like Alicent, where hold on. Her saying she got there in 3 days could be a plot point. You know what I mean? Like, it could be a vision for Daemon here where she's actually left 2 weeks ago. And maybe next episode, Simon says she left 2 weeks ago. And Daemon's like, wait a minute.
Or she's been there for a year dealing with Grover Tully.
Well, yeah.
Right? And it's all in his head type of thing.
Exactly. Like that could be super cool if Simon's like, wait, you've never met Alys. She hasn't been here since you've been here. Like that could be super cool. But now because characters teleport, who the fuck knows? So that's the problem when you have people
or an actual Alys shows up and it's a completely different actress. Right? It's like, oh, hey, here's Al. I saw that on Twitter that people wanted to be Melisandre.
People wanted to be Melisandre, and even before the season started, the Melisandre actors had said when season 1 ended and people knew this character who had read the book knew this character being there, they're like, oh, make it Melisandre. Like theorists would like theorize this anyway, and the actors was like, oh yeah, I'd come back.
It makes sense. I mean, the one person it would have been cool, alive for thousands of years, probably, or however old Mel is. But so Alys is like a couple things that stood out that she said.
She didn't want it.
Older things. Well, even before that, older things are playing the game. You're just a piece, Daemon. Which that's just like great. It just leans into kind of like our book theories about like the old gods and like
what you don't like. The theories that you don't like that there's really like 3 people controlling it. One old guy in a weirwood tree, one guy with a glass candle, and then whoever the red guy is. And they're the only ones that actually matter. Yeah, it's kind of what she's hitting at. Somewhere a barn owl flies in too, so she's definitely a warg.
Yeah, that's right.
To me, that's just she's a warg. Yeah, kind of cool.
And that's almost like her Dumbledore, like snapping the phoenix, like if she just flew away with the barn owl. But yeah, Rhaenyra didn't want the crown. I thought this was like the light bulb moment for Daemon if it did come. Rhaenyra didn't want it. Neither did Viserys. It's a burden, not something that you.
Is this a throwback to anything? This was a meme for season 8. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't. And she's like, she didn't want it. And I'm like, okay, Jon Snow. Yeah, I get it.
Right.
Like, I thought it was kind of like, that's kind of what they're apparent. Which, I mean, it's true.
I don't think too much of like that. It didn't ring a bell. That didn't ring a bell. Maybe because I've only watched season 8 once, but yeah.
Yeah. I thought that one immediately. But again, I think it's true, right? I think a lot of times what she's saying here is it's not should the person who wants to be king that should be king. It's the person that like is the best for the job, right?
Yeah. She also talks about the Riverlands really quick. Like they're made of mud. They're gonna stick together, which I guess is cool. You know, a little loyalty, even though they're fighting themselves, which is kind of weird.
Yep.
But and she's like, wait, do nothing. I'll be there. 3 days. The winds will change. Old god shit. The winds are coming. So, yep. Stefan. Then I knew that shit wasn't happening. I didn't think he would get burned. I thought he would just get like his arm snapped off or whatnot. Does this happen?
Really, not for a second, because they kind of set it up for him to. It looked like he was going to get it. I thought they might even make him ride it for a little bit.
He looked too scared the whole time. His ass was.
Well, it's weird because I wonder how much had George had to do with this. I feel like George doesn't. I don't know if you know this or I told you, but George put out a big blog post maybe a week and a half ago about like it was a big one about dragon lore, and like one of the things. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. One of the things he made like very clear is like dragons are not nomadic. They make a lair and they really won't leave that area unless their rider takes them somewhere, which it doesn't really make sense to me because the dragons roam a little bit even in Dance with Dragons for Daenerys, right? But whatever. I think that was because he saw this episode early and a lot of fans speculated this, and now there's a dragon in the Vale just out of nowhere. And I think he didn't like this, so he kind of was like retroactively making rules very clear. That like he never
that this dragon, but this dragon won't leave the Vale. It's gotta stay there and eat.
Well, in the books, that dragon isn't in the Vale.
Oh, interesting.
It's like the dragons are on Dragonstone, so I think he's basically saying there shouldn't be a dragon just in the Vale because it got hungry and roamed. He's kind of like making jabs at the show. But like here, but I do want to like look at the show and be like, I wonder what they got from George because it's weird. What happens? To me, it looked like he was going to be successful, and then he says, "I've done it."
I think that was the old trick. Like he pump faked.
But when he says, "I've done it," that's when Seasmoke's like, "Fuck you," and it, you know what I mean, burns him. So I'm wondering if it's like has something to do with like arrogance or like because like when he's treating Seasmoke like a god, Seasmoke's like going to bow to him. He's like, "I'm in charge." And then
I think that's half the problem.
I've done this. I'm awesome. Then he gets burned. It's like there's some humility to it. I think.
Yeah, I think that was half the problem with him. Is like. I feel like the dragon riders don't look at the dragons like they're gods. They look at them almost like they're the same. Kind of like
that's what I'm trying to figure out, and I don't think anyone really knows like what the key is to like taming the dragons. And that's why I think it's interesting here.
I don't think Stefan went with any confidence that it was going to work. Like he was kind of scared. Like even when he was like approaching the thing. Like if you go back to Aemon, with Vhagar. He went right up to him, started talking.
Yeah, that's true.
And when Vhagar kind of like bowed a little bit or like turned away, he started climbing right away. Where this dude's like inching forward. And also the dragon trainers with their little sticks, put them down. They're not doing anything.
Yeah, what are you gonna do with that? Yeah,
put that thing down. That was like a flimsy like reed. Like that wasn't even like a stick.
Yeah, I think it says somewhere in the main book series that like the dragon chooses the rider, but I might be thinking Harry Potter there. But that's why I kind of like
the wizard.
The wand chooses the wizard. That's kind of what. That's like what. And I know it's not like that. This is not how it goes in the book.
Seasmoke definitely chose Adam at the end.
And that's what I kind of like that scene for that reason. And that's not at all how that goes in the books. But I kind of like that seems like what they're doing is that it's like way more the dragon's choice than it is the person's choice.
Yeah.
Which is, I think is maybe kind of cool. The other problem I have with Seasmoke, which I don't want to get into right now because I'm trying to keep this one short and I feel like we're already tending long. But what's up with Laenor? Is Laenor dead now? Because like Seasmoke technically still has a rider, right? He's not dead. In the books he's dead, so he's able to be claimed, but he's alive somewhere just in Essos. So what's up? Like
probably just a hole that they didn't really care about, which I think they should have just killed Laenor. I think it would have again talked more to Daemon being like ruthless if like Daemon killed him.
Yeah, no one mentions this, but there is a body in the fire. So Rhaenyra killed somebody.
Right. Oh yeah. Or you can make Rhaenyra a little bit more gray, right? Because Rhaenyra looks...
Yeah, exactly.
Rhaenyra is the one that everyone's rooting for. I think you could root for Alicent a little bit, but now Alicent's so far out of the picture that, like, it's like, what are you rooting for with Alicent? She's not really playing.
She has no power.
She's not playing any pieces, but so it didn't work, and I didn't think it was going to. I was... Yeah. The one, I think, I'll just say a quick prediction. Obviously, Adam's on Seasmoke. Alan is going to become heir to Driftmark. They're going to find the bastard from the bar. He's going to be on one. Rhaena is going to do this thing in the Vale, and that's maybe it. Would that be 3 riders? 3 riders. 3 riders, 3 dragons. But maybe there's a 4th dragon that's in the Vale. So that's,
I think the dragon in the Vale is a dragon we haven't heard of yet.
The cannibal.
I'm not gonna say which one it is, but
yeah. So I don't know who the 4th rider would be. So I'll just wait.
The problem I don't like with them putting. I'm jumping ahead again, but the problem I don't like with I'm sure a lot of the book fans are not gonna like about this is if that's the dragon that a lot of us book fans are gonna think it is in the Vale, then that means they're probably cutting out another character, right? Because that dragon in the books gets written by another character that's not Rhaena. So if they're gonna have Rhaena do it, I can kind of see why they're doing it, and I saw a fan theory about why they're doing it later on, like why it could maybe make sense like a little bit like you know what I mean, a little bit down the line.
Sure,
but I don't know because that other character is a big fan favorite, so I feel like a lot of people are not going to be happy if they
you need him.
Cut her out.
Yeah. All right. So next one's we'll make it quick. Corlys and his sons. We've seen this story a couple times. He wants Alan to be his first mate. Alan doesn't really want it. And then Adam's just looking off to the side, all jealous of Alan being the favorite bastard son, and Adam gets nothing.
And Adam has Wolverine hearing, like he can hear this conversation, even though there's like 4 other people like way closer that like didn't hear it. And he's just like shaking his head, like, "Wow, I can't believe you didn't accept." Like what? But yeah, whatever.
Yeah. All right. In the alehouse next, they're spreading rumors. I thought this was great. I even asked like Daniel while we're watching, like, what they're trying to do here, and because we saw the serving girl at the end of the last episode. Diana. All right.
Well, Diana's the girl that got raped by Aegon.
Right. And then I didn't know who other girl is, but I'm assuming she's like head pimp of the brothel.
Subtitle said Madam Sylvia, and I think Madam is like the leader of a brothel. So yeah, I wouldn't have even got that without the subtitles. But yeah, that's what I'm assuming too, is the leader of the brothel.
But yeah, spreading rumors about, I think it's just smart. They're spreading rumors about, they're eating great right now. Like you guys all are chumps.
Well, they know food's coming, right?
Right. It's all part of the big plan of the food coming on the ships. But it's and just laying the groundwork,
which I have a problem with later. But
fine.
Yeah,
laying the groundwork with Viserys. Like, oh, he never would have ate that good. If you guys were doing bad, he was a man of the people. And Rhaenyra, playing corn, you get corn. Rhaenyra probably would have been the same. But
yeah, I do love how it always, and it's a thing that they say in Dunk and Egg. Like everything is blamed on the king. Like, Aegon and Aemon really don't have any direct impact on why there's a food shortage in King's Landing. Also, in the books, there is no food shortage in King's Landing because there's only a blockade by the sea. Like, there is no siege by land, so there really should not be a storm.
Well, there's really not a siege by land right now. It's just that they're feeding everything to the dragons, and they lock the people in because Aemon was scared of rumors getting out.
But, like, the Reach is on your side. That's where all the food is. You just took Stokeworth and Rosby and Duskendale. You have all the Crownlands. Like, you have food. Like, it doesn't make sense where there's a food shortage. But okay, I like the plot line makes sense, so I'm gonna overlook that. You know what I mean? It's one of the things I can overlook because most people don't understand the geography like that. But whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was cool. The one thing I was wondering, like, were they targeting Ulf? Like, was there? It didn't seem like a very crowded bar.
Was that Ulf in the bar?
Yeah, that was the guy who was like, we're talking about being
the bastard.
He was talking. He was being traitorous. Like, he was talking like, "Oh, I'm pro Daemon." Before,
right. I thought that was him, but I just didn't know because he was a white guy with a beard and long hair. You know, there are a dime a dozen in these bars.
We've only seen him twice, I think. So, next one, Mysaria and Rhaenyra.
Well, Rhaenyra's getting yelled at by the guy. She slaps him. Like, you need to start fearing me. I think it was cool. Rhaenyra was giving me like Queen Elizabeth vibes of this chapter.
I don't know anything about Queen Elizabeth, but Rhaenyra,
well, I think
was like stepping it up a little bit. She. I feel like she stopped being afraid to look like the bad guy a little bit, which you have to not be afraid to look like the bad guy sometimes. I feel like when you're a leader, and Rhaenyra was like, I know I'm never gonna be. I can't be the nice guy all the time, and I'm not gonna pretend to be or try to be anymore.
I might be wrong on my history. I don't know British, hierarchy that well or whatever. But I feel like Queen Elizabeth was like the first one to be like, nope, I'm going to be the queen. Like, I'm not marrying anymore. Like, this is my show.
Gotcha.
Like, follow me type shit. So.
Yeah, I liked Rhaenyra this episode.
Yeah, she's
her
cool.
with Mysaria.
She picks up a sword. White Worm comes in. The rumors are spreading. Everything's going to look good. And that's really it. Like, everything's in place. And she's starting to walk out with the sword. I'm ready for Rhaenyra to start training and shit, which I don't think is going to be book accurate to what you're saying. Just because I remember you saying in the books, Rhaenyra is kind of like, from all the pregnancies, like, kind of older and bigger and, like, not...
Yeah.
It's not like she's in shape to train, but...
Yeah, she's not the most athletic build at this point in her life. Yeah, and one of the complaints I was going to talk about a little bit later on is, like, when Mysaria and her kiss. Like, I'm cool with that relationship as long as they make it important, like, later in the story. It's definitely not a thing at all in the books.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be.
But, like, if they make it a thing later and it's important, cool. But one of the problems I have with it, no matter what, is I feel like there was very little setup. And maybe that's what this was, is Mysaria kind of being like, oh, you look kind of hot with that sword.
Yeah.
I took it the way you were saying. Like, oh, you're about to go be in a battle.
You're right.
But maybe instead it was more like a...
Oh, I kind of like how you're looking.
Damn, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So
I didn't care for it. I don't care for it at all. I think they're just trying to throw romance in when there's, like obviously sex sells, romance sells, so they're like, oh, we need Kristen to be making out with Alicent as much as we can. We need, Rhaenyra's not making out with anybody. We need her. Like, I thought it was forced.
Yeah. I want the hot actors and actresses to be making out with people.
Yeah, I don't need it. I don't need it at all. My second thought then maybe too was like, oh, are they going to be a throuple now with Daemon? But rekindle that flame.
Yeah, I think about that one.
But
yeah. And again, it's not in the book, so who knows?
I don't care for it. So then it's back to the people in the market, and we see the Smith again. Oh, maybe I'll just throw the Smith in there. He kind of looks Targaryen-ish. He's got some white hair. I don't know about his backstory. He's going to switch sides. He's going to be on
Hugh.
Hugh the Dragon Rider. But the Smith's wife is, in line, and by the time it gets to her, they're sold out.
Everyone's been there. You're like 2 or 3 back, and they run out of whatever you've been waiting in line for. She's not having it. She's pissed. And then we get all these sheep going by for the dragons.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, which understandable. Dragons need to eat, but so do the people.
Yeah, you got to bring them in. You got to bring them in like the back door or something. Or
it also, I mean, this is also book accurate, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, why do they lock the doors? Like, let them out. If there's a food problem, just let them out. Who cares? Why do you need
let the people leave?
Is it like, unless it's just like, or like kind of like seeing like what Cersei was doing against Dany is like, okay, if you burn me, you're gonna take out some people.
Right.
Dany clearly didn't care, so whatever. But maybe that's the only reason I can think of it is like, but then the people got to realize that's what's happening. Like, wait, you're just locking the door to use us as like a human shield, basically. So I don't know.
Right.
But
I think the weird part about like Aemon not letting him out so that they don't spread the rumors. Well, worse shit's getting spread now inside the walls, and now there's mobs being created because of what's going on. So like you'd have been better off letting him go out and tell them that Aegon was weak or whatever they were, afraid to let them say. But
yeah, and that kind of goes into the next scene, which is Larys, Aemon, and Ironrod. Just 3 people on the council. It's the only 3 of them. I think the Maester comes in a little bit. Basically, like, we need food. And Aemon's like, who cares? And Larry says exactly what you said. Like, well, if we don't care, then it's only going to get worse. And then, like, if we try and shut it down with violence, then it just gets worse. And then he's like, the enemy within is worse. Then he's like, we need a new hand. I didn't like the scene. This is another one I didn't like. The first time Larry suggested this to Aemon or Aegon, I didn't really take it as him trying to name himself. I tried to just take it as like, Otto and I don't have the same alignment, so just pick someone else and it'll probably be better for me. This seemed very obviously like I wanted to be the next up.
I feel like I didn't take it that strongly, but it also wasn't like, hey, I'm not throwing my name in the hat. But this is the first time that we're seeing Aemon and Larys kind of like do a side deal.
Interact.
Where he was kind of interacting with Aegon, which was cool. I thought that was going to be the end of the episode when Aegon asked for help. That like, oh, now Larys is going to be helping Aegon again behind Aemon. Like, that's kind of a cool twist. Yeah. But I didn't think Larys really wanted to be hand. I feel like he enjoys where he's at and kind of the way he works, but still very Littlefinger-ish that he's trying to climb in a different way.
Yeah. And then, Aegon woke up. And it's kind of, again, it felt a lot like when when Cersei and Jaime hear the Bran woke up. They're like, oh, fuck, what do they know?
Yeah, really.
So that's exactly what happens. He goes to check on him.
Yep. Aegon looks scared.
Yeah, super scared. It's kind of sad for Aegon. You're like, he can't do anything. He can't fight back. This guy is like, knows that what happened, and you're just like, I know nothing. I don't remember.
I still don't like that Aegon's even alive. I'll say that, but it is what it is. If he's truly going to get better, like I don't like how much better can he get? Like, is he going to be like crunching around? And then he's going to be the king again. So then what is Aemon? It's just weird. It's a weird dynamic. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was ready to say goodbye to him now that he's coming back. I really haven't digested that Aegon has a chance of being a character still. But
gotcha.
I digress.
Next scene, right now we're in the Vale. We talked about this a little bit. There's
hold on, right before Grey Master walks in, and he's definitely suspecting of Aegon. Like, he's not like, yo, don't let this guy, no more alone time. This guy's not, we gotta be scared of him.
I will say, I noted today when I was rereading a little bit of the Fire and Blood, when Aegon, what they do say, and I always like when they bring up direct lines, and this is one that the Maester says a little bit later on, but he says like, oh, he sleeps 9 times out of 10, and Larys is like, he'll sleep an extra hour or he'll be ready in an hour or whatever.
I need to talk to him.
Whatever. But that's a direct line from the quote. They slept 9 hours out of 10 for pretty much like a decent amount. I'm not gonna say how long, but a decent amount of time.
The rest of his life.
A decent amount of time.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, in the books it does say, oh, he slept 9 hours out of 10. But it said, and the only people that were allowed to see him was Alicent and Kristen Cole, which like doesn't seem suspicious. But like, if you think like, wait, why is Aemon not on that? Like, you know what I mean? It seems more suspicious when you say like, these are the people that weren't allowed to see him, and like, you know what I mean? Like, you list the blacklist, not the whitelist. Like, wait, why wasn't? So, but I don't know. But after watching this episode, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, maybe that makes sense. But again, in the books, there's no hint that Aemon had anything to do with what happened to Aegon. So that just doesn't matter. But next scene.
Rhaena's walking with Joffrey, I'm assuming.
Or was it the Lord Aaron?
No, it was definitely Joffrey. Joffrey Targaryen. Valerian.
The Lord of the Vale is a little boy. The Lord of the Vale is a little boy.
I'm assuming that was Joffrey Strong.
You might be right.
Valerian.
You might be right, because it was brown hair. So you might be right.
And then they walk upon a smoked field, and I thought this was just Joffrey's dragon. Maybe like, oh shit, he's gonna be ready to start doing some stuff. I don't even know if Joffrey Valerian has a dragon.
Joffrey does. I think it's one of them, Stormcloud. I think that little dragon that we see in this episode, his name is Stormcloud, but I think there's another dragon that I don't.
Well, there's another like Axes, right? Or like an Arax or Malarax or something. You'd have to get the names.
Hyraxes. Hyraxes is Joffrey's dragon.
Yeah, so I just thought it was Tyraxes maybe doing some Drogon-ish shit, like burning people's stuff down. But news from Pentos, from via the lady of Aaron, I don't know her name. Hey, guys can go over there and you'll be welcomed, and you can go too. Don't worry, the sister.
Yeah, it's weird. She seems like she wants her gone.
Yeah,
like Rhaena seems like, hey, there's a dragon here. I kind of maybe want to hang out. Seemed like what I was getting. And Jean's like, no, there's a boat waiting for you.
Yeah. It's weird why she held the information that there was a dragon here, but she was like, I need a dragon. Do you need a dragon for that dragon? Or are you, scared of this wild dragon? You knew that this dragon was wild? Like, how much do you know, Jean of Aaron? What's going on?
Well, she says, oh, yeah, the dragon came here because it, ran out of food and, it needed to wander. Which is again, so that kind of explains George's blog post about I don't like that dragons are supposed to be that they don't wander.
Yeah.
But the Eyrie is not close to Dragonstone. It's not across the continent, but
you could find food closer.
You'd have to eat a lot of land dry before you find yourself in the Eyrie. Also, I know it doesn't look like this in the show. The Eyrie is the top of a mountain. There's no sheep there. There's no for Rhaena to go walking around and finding sheep unless she's taking a literal 9-hour hike up and down this mountain, 18-hour round trip every day. That's 9 hours down to walk around the sheep and see these burnt bones, and 9 hours back up. What are we talking about here? Why, if we wanted to do this plot with Rhaena and the dragon, I don't like it because we're missing the character from the book. Whatever. If we're gonna do it, just leave her on Dragonstone. You know what I mean? What are we doing? I don't know.
I can't tell you what we're doing because I don't know the book. But
I don't like the Rhaena stuff. Well, none of this is from the book, but I'm kind of with George on this one.
Yeah. All right. So what's next?
Adam Allen.
Allen's like, I don't want anything from this guy.
I like this scene because what's Allen doing?
Allen is shaving so he doesn't have dreads,
shaving because he has white hair.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. What do you mean? You don't just grow out dreads from the root.
Well,
don't you have to do something to get dreads?
That's why I thought it was... Yeah, for sure. That's why I thought it was stupid that he was shaving. Because
I feel like they zoomed in on his head a lot to show the white hair. But maybe it looked like the
I just thought it was shaving cream.
Yeah, shaving soap.
And his brother doesn't have white hair, so maybe that's...
But I like this. I thought that was really cool because I've seen Alan this whole... I think they show him episode 1.
They definitely show him episode 1. He brings the dagger to Corlys.
Yeah, and I knew the whole time that he was Corlys' bastard, but I never thought one time why is he bald? Oh, because he's shaving his head. I'm not gonna spoil anything for people, but
I gotcha. People have done it to hide their Targaryen or Valyrian.
Yeah. People think Varys is maybe doing it for that reason. Yeah,
no, not buying that.
We won't go down that rabbit hole.
Adam's still mad he's also mad because he's even the second son of the bastard second son. They just don't. He's not getting any love.
He's you're getting a gift. Do something with it. You can get us out of this shithole.
Yeah,
we're in a closet right now.
Yeah,
get us out of here.
Not happening. All right, Rhaenyra and Jace.
We need Daemon.
We need Daemon. She wants to drop the dress. I thought that was cool. First, I need to drop the dress. I need sword and shield. And he's like, okay, mom. I gotcha, but we need Daemon, which she doesn't want to hear. And then the White Worm interrupts that the gift is sent.
Horrible spy master. You should not say this in front of Jace. You should be like, hey, I'm here. Rhaenyra should send Jace away. Then we say it. This is clearly supposed to be a secret thing. She says the gift was sent, and then Rhaenyra says something even less cryptic back. I didn't write it down, but Rhaenyra's like, okay, good. I hope that they end up on our side, and Jace is like, okay, you're just talking around me now.
Right. It was weird. It was weird. It was I hope it's cloudy over the black water.
Exactly. Yes, that's what she said. She's alluding to the plan, but she's not I'm not going to tell you though. Get out of here.
Yeah. And is it that big of a secret? What's Jace going to do with that information? Yeah. Just tell Jace, hey, Jace, we're sending food to the
ships have literally sailed. The food, the ships with the food have literally already sailed. What's Jace going to do? Fly over and burn them all?
Why would Jace be against it? And I think that's kind of why Jace walks away pissed. He's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Tell me, I'm here to help type of thing. Jace has been
it's weird.
Nothing but loyal. So the gift has been sent, cloud over the Blackwater, which I thought that was going to be oh, let's take one of these small dragons to like sneak attack a little bit, maybe.
I was thinking Davos. We were sending the smuggler with black sails, but that's kind of what they do.
But you don't need clouds for black sails.
I mean, I was just thinking there's no moonlight.
Well, I was thinking clouds can hide a smaller dragon to like maybe come into the mud gate and blow that shit up with some dragon fire, then get the fuck out of there. A little hit and run action. Yep. So the shit's sent. Now we have the clamor on the sea. He sees a boat, turns around, boat's there with Rhaenyra's sigil, and then we see that they sent food, which I like that. I like that whole plot. I don't know if it's book accurate or not that she did this.
It's not in the books, but I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, there's no food shortage in the city because there's only a blockade on half.
So I don't know how she's like. I'm assuming in the books then she gets the common people's support over something, or does she not have the support of the common people?
I don't think the common people play as big. The common people, at least specifically in King's Landing, don't play as big of a role. I don't think.
Okay. All right, Alicent with the Aegon and the Maester.
War in the Reach.
How fucked up is he?
Yep, 9 out of 10 hours. War in the Reach. Beesbury versus Hightower.
What happened to Beesbury? Why is Beesbury fighting for their lord?
Beesbury's the guy on the council who Christian Cole smashed his head. That's Beesbury, yeah.
I have seen that. I do remember that. I actually told you I just saw that clip on like TikTok of Christian that's going nuts.
Yeah, that's Beesbury.
What's going on with Otto? We haven't heard from him. I don't know if we mentioned that Larys, when he wanted to be Hand, that Aemon was like, no, I want it to be Otto. So I don't think we said that back then, but I knew Otto was coming back.
And then here Alicent asked the Maester, like, oh, have I had word, any of my letters to Otto been answered? And he's like, no. And then she goes and sees Gwaine in the yard. That's the next scene. And she's like, hey, have any of your letters to Otto been answered?
Well, I don't think she wasn't really going to see Gwaine.
She wasn't going.
That's a different story.
That was the first thing she said. But like, this was my thing. Is like, wait, when she asked the Maester if Otto had written to her, like, wouldn't the Maester have said like, no, but we have had word from him, like he wrote to your brother. Like, all letters go through the Maester. Like, wouldn't she have heard? But then, unless the Maester would like hide an answer about being the Hand on Aemon's command, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird how she's asking about this. But you're right. She was probably just pulling something out of her ass. Because she was really there to see Kristen.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, what do I talk to you about now that I see you? Have you heard from Dad? Like, yeah, I think that was all cover up. Gwaine's mad. Is he he was the first son. I don't know if Alicent's older or not. I'm gonna assume Alicent's
it doesn't really,
younger.
I don't know, but it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
I think she is older, but no, I think he's older, but it doesn't matter. He's the son.
Because when Alicent's like, oh, you didn't have a mom, like, then you didn't either, Alicent, type of thing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess.
But I guess you at least grew up with Dad, but he was at Hightower by himself.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe the mom was with Otto and Alicent, and he was at Old Town by himself.
Who cares? I don't think Gwaine's making it too far in this war. Would be my guess. Okay.
Well, Alicent asked him about her son, Daemon.
Yeah,
I thought this was cool. Come out of nowhere. Like, what's he like? I thought she was gonna say like, tell him, blah blah blah, or Daemon. I don't know. But she was like, what's he like? Just wants to know her son. Because
if anything, this gave me Tommen vibes. It was like, all right, I fucked up with the first two. Like, tell me that there's a chance with Daemon. Like, can he rule if Aemon's gonna fuck something up too? Like, is Daemon ready to go? And do we have a chance to follow him?
Well, so what Gwaine says is he's 16, stalwart, clever. He plays the lute as much as he plays the sword. He's a kind of a ladies' man, but he's kind.
He's Rhaegar.
Well, what I was thinking, what Alicent ends this conversation with is, maybe King's Landing isn't the right place to raise a good man. Yeah. Something like that, right? So, yeah, I was getting Egg on the 5th vibes, which, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but you know what I mean. Okay. People who know what I mean.
If you know, you know.
Then she winks at Kristen Cole on the way out.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Hey, Helena, you're gonna love this. Let's go to the Sept. Nothing could go wrong.
Let's go light candles."
Cricket's like, Helena's like, "Yo, these crickets be chirping. Is that a riot foreshadow?" That's all I could really think. Like, hey, these crickets are restless, kind of like the people.
Were they crickets? I couldn't tell what the animal was.
I thought they were crickets, but I'm not 100%.
I thought maybe it was a little bird, but she said it stopped singing, and it's weird. I don't know.
I thought she said it wouldn't stop singing. It was a cricket that wouldn't stop chirping. I thought it was a foreshadow of the riot.
I thought it was this one did stop singing.
Oh, you might be right. I'm not sure.
Which then I'm thinking like, oh, who went quiet? Like Aegon went quiet. What is someone else going? Yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe Aegon because he's not talking about what happened. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yep. So they want to light a candle. Then we get to the smith. He's playing with the rat catcher's dog, and then news of food breaks out, and just everybody going nuts, and they start fighting. He has no hesitancy to beat the shit out of somebody for some carrots and a head of lettuce.
Dude, carrots and cabbage. Like, I would maybe punch somebody for a burger and fries. You know how hungry I'd have to be to get into a fight over a head of lettuce and carrots? Like, come on, man.
I wonder, like, was it all fruit and veggies on those boats, or like could you have like took your chance? Could you have took your chance to run down to the boat and like fight somebody for a ham, or
at least a little salt beef? Come on, a little beef jerky. Yeah. Hook the boys up.
Come on.
I did think it was funny earlier when they were talking about the food when Ulf was in the bar. It was like I felt like that was maybe I'm just too much of a fan. I see references and everything, but I thought that was a little bit of a George reference to like how he gives you like a 2-paragraph description of. He's like, oh, here's what the royals ate last night. It was roast lamb with wine sauce and boiled mutton.
And lamprey pie after lamprey pie.
Yeah, they like went on. I was like, that's a George food reference for sure, and I loved it.
Yeah. But yeah. All right. Alicent and Rhaena are then told to leave the Sept. Mob starts. Alicent tried to be like, yo, put your arms down, like these are our people. But I'm assuming it's one of the newer Aegon knights that sliced off the arm. And I think so. Also gets overtaken by the mob then too, which it's not a good time to be a Kingsguardman. I'll tell you that. One's getting burned by fire. 4 of them probably overtaken in this mob, or 3. I don't know how many, but not good.
2 problems I have with this scene. 1, they're in the Sept. I don't think all these people who were like running around with food were necessarily going into the Sept, unless it was very clear they were there, like the queen was there. And they were already outside, then okay, I can maybe see that. Second thing, they yell at Alicent. First thing they yell at her is the Queen of Fish. I don't know why, but they also throw a fish at her. Starving people throw a fish. Then they continue to throw a lot of other food, lettuce. Like Hugh just punched the fuck out of somebody for a head of lettuce. And people are just throwing it. This shit's gold right now.
It doesn't make sense. Like it'd be better if they were throw poop. Throw your poop.
That's what they throw at Joffrey in the riot of Kings. That riot. Exactly.
It doesn't make sense to throw the one thing that you need the most.
Yeah, food. Come on, like what are we doing? But whatever.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. So the mob happens. It's also very like if you're gonna mob, they had them pinned up against the door. Like they should have been down for the count.
They were in trouble. Yeah.
But they get away. Plot armor.
Yep. So they get away. Next scene, Daemon. This is the scene. Aegon.
What? I have Aegon with Larys. Aegon with Larys, he's like, yo, don't give him the milk of the poppy just quick. I got to talk to him. He was like, just give him some time. Like, he'll be ready in an hour for it, but we got some business to talk.
Yep.
And he's like, yo, you got your mind. At least you have your mind, but you're going to be crippled. Like, they're going to laugh at you and look at you and underestimate you. And, we get his backstory of, how people have looked at him his whole life and how his dad looked down on him for being crippled.
And I know I've probably sounded pretty critical in this episode so far, but actually I think up to this point I've really liked it. I feel like up until this point it was like definitely an 8 point something episode for me. I think at this point though, I felt like they were trying to reach for some stuff. And I feel like now that in hindsight we're talking about it, I feel like they were even trying to like reach for some connections even in the prior stuff. But here I feel like they're trying to reach a lot with Larys is very similar to Tyrion. I feel like Tyrion has a very similar conversation to this to Bran in season 7 or 8, where he's like, you're crippled, I'm a dwarf, like, but we both have our minds. That's important. They're going to underestimate us.
Yeah.
I think he says, like, again, it's not quite the same thing he says to Jon, but he's like,
it's
you're
very
a bastard.
Tyrion. I mean, it's close enough. Like, you wear it as your armor, basically. And
I don't hate this one quite so much. There's things coming up that I feel like are a lot more like that. But here, I think another parallel you could draw if you're a book fan is Brienne thinks this to herself. That, like, her old master of arms used to tell her, like, hey, people are going to underestimate you just because you're a woman. Like, that's an advantage. Like, use that to like, in every battle, they're going to underestimate you. So just to try and get it over quick. If you can prolong it, they're gonna tire themselves. Like, you know what I mean? So just like use it to your advantage. But whatever. So I did kind of like that, but they're trying to make him too much of a Tyrion copycat.
I just think they were trying to give too much backstory to Larys and like malaria. I always just write white worm. I don't even
Mysaria.
Malaria.
So that was the other problem I had, was when they get her backstory. It just felt like exactly like Varys' backstory. I feel like there was even a few lines copy pasted. Before we get there, it's Daemon has his vision of Viserys mourning for Emma and Baelor, which I think is the name of the baby. Emma and her baby that died right away.
The heir for a day.
Yeah, the heir for a day. And he's like actually comforting Viserys. So again, to me, this was him like the beginning. His first vision of the episode was him like not
really
handling
caring
the accusations well, and then at the end he's like, "Fuck, I fucked up." So I think this is kind of the turning point for Daemon, hopefully, and we can.
Yeah,
because like you see I'm sure we all see the memes. All like I feel like this is one of the main memes I see is like Daemon doing something and Caraxes is just like chilling or whatever, right? There's Daemon like running around like a madman.
He's in like Luigi's haunted castle or something like that. Yeah.
It's like the major meme this season.
He needs to go do something. He needs to get on Caraxes. Obviously, he's going to the River Run. But I was a fan of him and Rhaenyra. I actually like for the drama of it all, like whatever. Like if y'all are gonna fight, like at least like fight. But I think they're going to figure it out whatever way. I don't know how it's gonna go down, but like come on, Daemon, saddle up. Let's
make it happen. Yeah. So he wakes up. Simon's there.
Simon wakes him up again. To your point,
Grover's dead. Oscar's in charge. Are people have to be catching on to the Muppets / Sesame Street reference now? Right?
I would think. If not, they're hearing it from you. So Grover's dead. How did he die? They don't. He's been sick forever. What do you mean? Oh, but Alys was there to help.
We talked about this one earlier.
Did Alys kill him? She killed him.
Not in the books. In the books, Alys is like a person that's been at Harrenhal. So I don't know. I wouldn't hate the idea. Like again, we talked about it before. Like if she was just a vision in Daemon's mind, and like we kind of found out she's never been here. I think that could be really cool. But that makes the whole like Criston Cole teleporting around like thing even worse. Especially because in the first the couple episodes before they teleport back to King's Landing, they make a point that like Criston Cole's been gone for 2 weeks. He has another week ride to Rook's Rest. Like they make a point that he's been gone for a while, and then it's I don't know. But I want to see what they do with it. Again, I like the Daemon stuff, so even though I sound critical on the podcast, I really don't care about it too much because
they did mention another time too. They were like, our Navy is not going to be here for another fortnight or something like that. So
at Harrenhal.
No, the Navy, like the Hightower ships and the whatever other ships. So like they did mention that it would take 2 weeks for their ships to get to King's Landing. So
I remember Aemon said it would be a while. 2 weeks sounds short.
Maybe he said months. Maybe he said months. Yeah.
Yeah. You're saying we could just get another timeline, like a specific reference. But.
Somebody said fortnight. Maybe it would take a fortnight for him to get to
Harrenhal.
Run.
For Criston Cole to get to Harrenhal, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Next scene, Adam is doing his thing. Whatever he does, catches crabs or clams or something. Oysters, clams, and cockles.
Oysters, clams, and cockles.
Flies by. Seasmoke flies by, and I liked it. Again, it's very different from the books. I know a lot of book fans are not going to like this because it's just different, but I kind of like the idea of, and I don't know if they're going to go with this, but like, what if in the next episode, Rhaenyra's like, you know what? This isn't going to work like having people come in here and try and claim a dragon. Let's just let the dragons out.
And see who they come back with.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if they're going to go that way, but if they do, I think it would be kind of cool. We're honestly like the dragon straight up chooses the rider. That's how we play this game.
I'm not going to, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think so either
just because it's way too risky. What if it flies a King's Landing and like bows down in front of, you know what I mean? Alicent, like, well, okay, we got a problem now. So, or Criston Cole.
Tell me how Adam's a dragon rider. He has no dragon rider blood.
Criston Cole. I told you last week, Criston Cole's mom, we don't know. Not Criston Cole, Corlys. And Corlys' mom, we don't know. I think Corlys' great grandma. There's a bunch of moms in the line. There's a chance there's
Targaryen there. Okay.
Yeah. We don't know who they are, and we've heard there are a bunch of phrases in Fire and Blood that say Valerians and Targaryens intermarried a lot. And then there's a bunch of unknown mothers on that side. So I think it's fair to assume.
I won't hold it against him. But yeah, I like that he was running scared, then he trips over the thing. Obviously, Seasmoke was coming out of nowhere to scare the shit out of him. Seasmoke's a cool dragon. He's not very big. I thought he'd be bigger.
I will say, and I hope this isn't something they bring up later. I don't think it would make as much sense in the show because they've kind of gone with the Laenor's gay route. But in the books, they also mentioned that it's probably more likely that Alan or Adam or both are actually Laenor's bastard, not Corlys's bastard. And then Laenor's mom was Rhaenys, so there's your Targaryen blood.
Yeah.
Again, that's how the books make it make sense. Again, I think it makes sense with Corlys either way.
I feel like they would be super young though if it was Laenor. No, Laenor's bastard. Like they couldn't be much older than Jace Luke or Joff.
I think Adam's only supposed to be 16 when he claims Seasmoke, so he's supposed to be young already.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be younger than he looks. Like he looks like 25, 30 to me.
At least 25. Yeah, 25.
Yeah. So next one, Rhaenyra is with Mysaria.
Yep.
Food worked.
Food worked, but she's like, yo, I don't think I can win. Like Jace doesn't even believe in me. They think think I need.
She's
Daemon.
Down in the dumps.
And I thought it was a cool line too. Like Rhaenyra says, Daemon wanted what I had, my father's love, whatever. And all I wanted was to be like him, carefree, and could be a man and kind of do whatever I want. And then, we get the White Worm backstory, which her dad was diddling her, then cut out a baby.
I saw a pretty crude meme that said, if you're trying to talk to somebody about your dad, like if you're talking to somebody about incest problems, like a Targaryen's not the big person to be venting about that too. Like Daemon and Lily, or Rhaenyra Lily has sex with her uncle. The whole father part of it really shouldn't be that big of a deal for Rhaenyra. Obviously it is to us, but for Rhaenyra maybe not. And again, I think even father-daughter is not a thing that Targaryens do, but that was the meme that I saw. This gave me Craster vibes, obviously. And that makes sense what you said, that he did something to kill the child, because I didn't understand why, but she jumps to I can't have children.
I'm assuming he just cut out her uterus, probably.
Or gave her some that moon tea that's not mixed well. And
she said there was a scar, so I was taking it literally, and then left her for dead. So I'm saying cut out the baby, cut out the uterus, and then somebody found her and patched her up. But
I think this is the Varys line that was copy and pasted. I'm pretty sure he says he cut off my parts, threw them in the fire, and then left me for dead. But I lived. Exactly what she says. But I decided not to die, and I lived. And now I don't trust. And what she says is, now I learned that you can't ever trust anyone. And that's kind of Varys' whole thing, right? It's like, I'm not going to swear my unwavering loyalty to you, because I think that's stupid. You should never, you should always take into account the actions of the person you're serving. And if they do something stupid or cruel, you shouldn't serve them anymore. So, that's kind of what she's saying. I'm not going to just trust someone outright. I'll trust you based on in the moment
on your actions. Yeah. And that really got Rhaenyra's heartstrings. She goes over, gives a big hug, and we get a little makeout sesh.
I even wrote hug in my notes down, and then they started kissing, and I'm like, oh man, what's gonna happen here? Rhaenyra needed a hug, but you don't need to start making out with her. I just felt like there wasn't enough chemistry built up.
I need them to forget that they kissed and hey, let's not do that again. That was stupid. All right, we had a good time, but
there's no way, because that doesn't make any sense. In the, that's an old bad plot line. I feel like an editor would be like, yeah, you wouldn't have this kiss just to throw it away next episode. So that they're gonna do something with it. I hope they make whatever it is cool. I feel like if Rhaenyra would have kissed Alicent in the first 5 episodes of season 1, I feel like they had a little romantic chemistry.
It would make more sense. Yeah. That was the first thing I said was oh, she likes Alicent. I think if we go back to our episode 1, first 5 minutes, I'm like, yo, do these two like each other more than friends? But.
And maybe on a rewatch, it'll be clear that that's kind of what they were trying to hint at, is that she maybe did have feelings, and who knows where the rest of the, who knows where, Alicent and Rhaenyra are both still alive. Maybe they hook up at some point.
Wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
More people making out with people is, I think, what they want.
Yeah.
But then Queen's Guard comes in with news that Seasmoke was flying over a spot that he flies around, and Rhaenyra's like, all right, he does that. What the fuck are you doing here? And he's got a rider. And
it's so awkward. As a spy master, you really can't play off. They're both just
Yeah, dude,
when the Kingsguard walks in, like face away from like hand up,
you can't like look at a map or something. Like you're
like maybe Rhaenyra would be embarrassed, but like you think Mysaria would be able to play this off? She's a spy person, like that's her job, right? But I don't know.
It looked very obvious that there was two people kissing in a room.
It was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rhaenyra gets on Cyrax. Kind of cool. I like how she's like, I'm taking care of this myself.
Yeah, I need to go. It's about time. Again, like she needs to do something too. Everyone needs to this season, other than Rook's Rest, has been like, yo, go do something in my mind.
Corlys is the big one for me right now. Is like he's kind of like a way bigger character. He's like a legend. Like I guess in the Dance of the Dragons, he doesn't do too much, but like, he does more than he's doing in the show. And like just from what we have heard about him, like he went on like some like Vale said last time, he went to a Shy, he went to Yt, he went to all these like crazy places, and now he just like sits there and he's like, huh.
Yeah.
I mean,
he gave no counsel as well. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Corlys has been on my shit list for a while. It's time for Daemon to get back in the fight. Stop seeing ghosts. Like, all right, you said sorry to your ghosts. Leave that shit in the past. Like, let's move on. I hope Aegon. Oh, well, I don't think he's gonna die now, but I think he should die. I kind of want Aemon to like, I don't know, find a way to actually kill him, and then maybe Daemon comes, and now we just get like another little brother fight. But I think that's part of it. Now that I see it, it's just like, all right, we have these two bigger sides, but in itself, we have all these little fractions of it too. Like, are they trying to set up that like Jace is pissed off that he's gonna like start doing shit as well? So then it's like Rhaenyra versus Jace versus Daemon, as you have Aemon versus Aegon versus Daemon. It's like, I don't know. I'm excited to see again. I don't know. More than just kind of like talking at councils. There's been a lot of just council talks.
Well, there's at least one battle that I think we know is coming in some aspect. Something related to Kristen going to Harrenhal. We have the Lannisters coming to Harrenhal, and Daemon is at Harrenhal.
Yeah, it's the battle that I thought was happening in book 3.
I think this will happen this season, but I'm not sure. There's another battle that hasn't really been alluded to. The other thing is, that was one of the battles that I was thinking could maybe wait till next season. There was another battle that has not really been alluded to up until this episode. This episode got a little bit that I thought would be a really good spot to like kind of end it. I thought next episode would be a good episode for that battle. And again, I think people who know what I'm talking about will know. And then see the last episode of the, like, kind of how they do, where like Game of Thrones used to do, where the second to last episode was kind of like the big episode. And then the last one was kind of like aftermath, wrap up, get ready for the next one.
Yeah.
At the pace they're going, though, like I don't think it's a spoiler. We're gonna have more dragon riders.
Right.
These battles have some of the dragon riders that are not yet found in them. So at this point, I don't think we're far enough along to have that battle next episode, unless it's at the end. Like, unless we get the dragon riders early in the episode and then we have the battle at the end of the episode. At this point, I'm starting to think the battle. But then will be the last.
I don't really like that.
Yeah, at this point, I'm starting to think the battle will probably be the last episode of the season, and next episode will probably be another setup and probably finding any last dragon riders that we'll get.
Yeah, I don't like that if they find these dragon riders and then they throw them right into a battle, because then I would expect them to not know what they're doing at all, right? Like the first time you drove a car, you're not going, F1 racing.
Well, that could be an important plot point, so we'll see what happens. But
okay. All
yeah, so we'll see you guys on the next one for episode 7.
All right.
Like, subscribe. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.